Welcome learners, my name is Abhishek Ray and I am the trainer on behalf of Rabindranath Tagore University, and I will be teaching you the concepts of supply chain management for this 6 months certification course. Today we begin the module 1. Module 1 of supply chain management is going to be a very basic understanding of how this supply chain management works. During the educational process, I will try to give you more real life corporate experiences so that you can visualize things as to how supply chain works in real life, right? So first of all, let's focus on the fact, what is supply chain management? Supply chain management begins from the planning stage, the identification stage of what are the raw materials that are required. Supply chain management also is responsible for providing purchase order to the rightly identified vendors and to get the material from them to your manufacturing facility. It also is responsible for the manufacturing part of the product and then packaging of the product and finally shipping that completed product to the channel partners or the retailers, finally to the destination of the customer. So you can imagine how big is this chain. It is very safe for me to say that supply chain management is easily one of the vastest and the biggest concept in the entire business administration studies. Yes. Now, let us, since we have understood the basics of supply chain management, it is very important for me now at this point of time to focus on one particular misconception that students have, fresh students have, and many people actually have, and that is, people think that logistics is supply chain management. No, logistics is a part of supply chain management. Supply chain management, on the other hand, is a very vast subject. As I just was talking about, you could see right from identifying of what products or raw materials are required to the delivery up to the customer. That is supply chain management. But logistics is about physical movement of finished goods or the raw materials required for making that particular product. Logistics it can be done in various ways. It can be air, it can be an air cargo, it can be through ship route, it can be through road transport. These are all the options of logistics, right? But it's not only restricted to those big heavy product movements. When you look into a manufacturing facility, even the movement of raw materials inside the assembly line is also part of logistics. Okay, so I believe now we have arrested the misconception that many have, and that is, what is the difference between logistics and supply chain. Now let's move forward to the next part, and that is basically key supply chain components. If you are able to see, it is appearing, all the concepts are appearing as chains. They are as chains. So many concepts, they are all appearing to you as a chain, and I will tell you why it is appearing as a chain and what is the importance of chain over here. At this point of time, we will only highlight on the key supply chain components. First is, as I told you, planning. Second is sourcing the raw materials. Third is manufacturing, or what we call as making. Fourth is packaging and then delivery, and final, very important, is return of that product. Yes, you heard it right. Even return is part of supply chain management. Return will be handled by the logistics team. The product will come back to the factory where the supply chain team will analyze as to what is the root cause of this return happening, so that they can eliminate those faults and avoid repetition of that problem happening again, right? So now I will also, as I told you in the beginning, that I will try to give you more and more real life examples for you to understand better these concepts and these components. I'll take an example of a product that probably is in your pocket right now, a product probably you are using to view this video at this point of time, a product that has become almost an absolute necessity in our day-to-day lives. Yes, my dear friends, I am talking about, and the one I am also holding in front of me as I am also scrolling the notes, I am talking about a smartphone. So let us visualize, or let us think that there is a company named X, who are into manufacturing of smartphones. The marketing and sales team decide that they need to launch a new phone for a specific target market. Once it is decided, they go to their technical team and they ask them to design the phone as per their requirement, and the technical team then works on the specifications, and once the specifications is done, it is now transferred to the supply chain management team of that company X. The supply chain management team now starts working by, first of all, identifying what are the components. There are many components in a phone, but for our simple understanding, and we will only focus on certain raw materials, certain components which you probably will understand or probably know about it. So a phone will have a chipset, a phone will have a screen or glass guard, a phone will have a camera. It's very essential in today's world, and a phone will definitely have some additional PCBs and a battery, of course, right? So these 5 things we will be considering in this particular study. So the planning team will now identify vendors across the globe who can provide them with these products. So they will now identify who are the vendors who can provide them with chipsets, who are the vendors who can provide them with camera, who can provide them with the screen glass, with the phone cover, with the batteries. Once they identify the vendor, now they will start having discussion with the vendors whether they will meet the specification requirements, what is the costing, and secondly, will they be able to deliver the amount of quantity that the company X requires. Once this negotiation is done, the supply chain management team will now issue work orders or purchase orders to their vendors and ask them to start delivering the raw materials. Once the raw material, so this was the sourcing part. Once the raw material comes to X's factory, here their assembly line will start working and start assembling these phones into a completed product. In the assembly line, there would be one more end critical part, and that would be packaging. You might have seen the iPhones and the Samsung phones that come to your place. They have such a nice packaging for their phone, which describes their logo, their branding. So that will also be taken care in this particular factory, and then those completed products in their packages will be sent forward to their warehouse, where it will be stored until the logistics team will come in and pick up those packages and start delivering to their target market. That is where logistics starts coming in. It will go to their either retail stores, or it will go to their online selling warehouses, or it may go to their channel partner, depends on how the company works. Finally, it will be delivered to customers like you and me. And if you find a failure in that particular product, if you do not feel it is as per your requirement, you will absolutely go for a return, because there is typically a return window, and that is where again the logistics team will come and they will take the product and bring it back to the supply chain team for their work further. So much, right? So much of things I said you might be feeling, but let me tell you, it is nothing. We are just absolutely in the basics of supply chain management. Each of these components that you are seeing, or what I am talking about, are in itself subjects in supply chain management. They again have their own further sub-subjects. So it is a vast study. We are just looking into the basics of supply chain management. I will also try to make something interesting by asking you a question which I will only answer, and that question is, why do you think businesses exist? Simple question. Why businesses exist? Or to put it more simply, why companies do business? The answer is profit. They want to earn profit. They want to earn money. Okay. And how this will happen? This will happen by following simple 3 to 4 steps. One is delivering the right product at the right quality, at the right time, and of course at the right price. If a company does all these 4 things, then they will generate profit. And all these 4 things are dependent on supply chain management as a concept. Okay. So now, since we have understood the key concept of supply chain management and the components, let us now understand what is the benefit of supply chain management. Why is supply chain management required? Supply chain management provides a company and its clients with product accuracy, because the technical team designs. Supply chain management is responsible to source the exact requirement fit product or raw materials, so that the end product is designed or produced accurately. That is one benefit of supply chain management. Second is quantity precision, because supply chain management knows the demand in the market, so they know very well how many products, how much products they have to produce, and in what time, and of course at what cost. Cost is very, very important. So they also provide a quantity precision. Location accuracy, where in the global map you want your product to be delivered. They also give, timeliness. Cost efficiency is very, very important. If you go back to when I was talking about that phone example, I was telling that the planning team will also be negotiating with the vendors, not only in terms of what is the quality and specification they are providing. They will also negotiate on the timelines, and they will also negotiate on the prices, because that will affect their profitability, the company's profitability. So that is cost efficiency, and everything in the end is done for customer satisfaction. If a supply chain management for a company works like a well-oiled engine, customer satisfaction is guaranteed. Now we have understood what is supply chain management. We have understood the difference between supply chain management and logistics. We have also identified the key components. Now the picture that you are seeing is basically where the integration of all these components happen. And now I go back to the point of why I was talking about a chain. Yes, supply chain management is like a chain. What is the importance of a chain? A chain is required to safeguard probably a bicycle, safeguard a luggage. Basically, its work is to safeguard. If I break any one particular component of that chain, then the entire purpose of that chain is defeated. Supply chain is exactly like that. It is a chain. It is like a relay race. If you have seen the relay race, in the relay race, running fast is important, but what differentiates between the winners and the losers is the passing of the baton between each of the players. You have seen those races happening in the circular grounds, wherein they pass the batons, and that is a microsecond will actually decide their winning, and that is what exactly is supply chain management. Okay, I'll take an example over here, and I will explain you the importance of chain, the importance of time. So let us consider that there is a coffee manufacturer somewhere in Africa, and the coffee manufacturer is also into exports market, and one fine day he receives a order of 100 packs of a special coffee to be exported to India, and these 100 packs, each packs will be of 10 kgs. Mark my words, listen me very carefully, right? 100 packs, each pack of 10 kgs. This is the order received by this coffee producer in Africa. They accept the offer, the prices are decided, the timeline is 5 months, they receive the purchase order, they receive the advance amount, and they start in procuring the, I am not very good at it, I am sorry, but I believe cocoa or coffee powder. Cocoa is the basic ingredient of coffee. I am sorry for my mistake. Let's understand, they start procuring the basic raw materials for coffee. Those materials are coming to their warehouse or where they start packaging those products. Once the products have come, they had also ordered 100 packets of 10 kgs in which they will pack the coffee with the branding and everything done. When they are about to pack, they realize that their back office or their supply chain team has by mistake ordered packages of 5 kgs. Instead of 10 kgs, they have ordered 100 packs of 5 kgs. Will it work? No. Do you realize what happens? The entire supply chain collapses. Now there is no way that this person in Africa will be able to deliver those products in time to that Indian importer. There is a loss. This is the importance of supply chain. This is the importance of why I am talking about chain. A small chain, everything was correct over here. The order was right, they could have done the order, they had bought the coffee, they were ready to package, but only one mistake had happened, and that was a wrong ordering of the packaging that they had done. Instead of 10 kg, they ordered 5 kg packs. That is the importance of supply chain. That is how critical supply chain becomes. Okay. Now we move forward to the next part, and that is a small comparison between traditional supply chain management and the modern supply chain management. See, the world is changing, and the world is changing faster than ever, and especially with artificial intelligence coming in and the developments that are happening. So supply chain management has also changed a 360-degree change in its approach. Traditionally, supply chain management used to be product focused. Say for example, you might have heard about the big brand Ford Motors, right? An American company. So they were focused in terms of upgrading their car. Sometimes they would look for aesthetics, sometimes they would look for safety features, sometimes they would look for better fuel efficiency. So you understand what I mean? It was more of product centric. Now it has changed. It is more of customer focus. Customer satisfaction is the prime for supply chain management. Second, the traditional way was very linear. Today it is more networked and integrated. When I say linear, I mean every step that will happen in supply chain will happen one by one. Nothing will happen together or parallelly. No multiple things will happen. In today's day, we cannot imagine. Let's go to the phones example. Do you think a phone manufacturing will happen in a way that first we are going to identify the chipset, then we are going to place the order for the chipset, then we are going to receive the chipset, then we will go to the next step of ordering the phone covers or the body case of the phone? It will not happen like that. Everything will happen simultaneously because time is of essence. Everything has to be fast. Customer needs it fast. Products has to be delivered very quickly, and that is how supply chain has changed. In the past, traditionally, technology was very limited. Needless to say, today technology is one of the most important part that is in supply chain management. Traditionally, having inventory in supply chain management was not a problem. Before going into that, I'll just explain for the basics. What is inventory? Inventory is basically the additional stock that lies in your factory. So if you are, say, that X company who is into phone manufacturing, if they have at any point of time, they will have a good number of phone at their warehouse for their future requirements, depending if the demand surges. That is called as inventory. So in the past, that was not a problem, but currently in today's world, having excessive inventory is a kind of a liability in your financial books. So companies will try to be more and more lean. The minimum amount of inventory that you have, the more efficient is your supply chain management. If we talk about speed, traditionally, needless to say, it was very slow. Now it is lightning fast. Markets traditionally were very localized, not much of a global market. In today's world, every small entrepreneur will always try to increase their market expansion to different countries. So like someone in India would definitely like to sell in Africa, sell in China, sell in UK, Europe, US, and vice versa. So the market has gone huge. Communication for supply chain management team in the past used to be manual, more of paper written, or maybe to max would be fax. But now it is real time. Everything is on the ERP system. Every company has a ERP or has a supply chain management portal where everything can be monitored on real time. And last would be flexibility. They were all very, in the past, supply chain management would be very, very, rigid. The kind of structure that has been set, it is going to be like that. Today's world, it is not like that. You have to be flexible. You have to change your supply chain management depending on the situation that you have in front of you. Finally, we come to the last part of this module 1, and that is globalization and supply chain complexity. Just now I was talking about the modern supply chain management. The situation has changed because the markets are open. No market is restricted. Everyone is looking for growth. And so you would like to do business in other countries, in different markets, but that comes with its own share of complexities. The first is diverse customer expectation. I'll tell you an example. So let's take the example of the coffee exporter in Africa, right? Who faced that problem because of that packaging order. He would send a typical type of a coffee in Mexico for his client. That coffee might not be acceptable in the Indian market because the Indians, they have a different taste for coffee. So he has to curate a different kind of a coffee that would work in the Indian market. Similarly for China, similarly for Europe. So that is what I'm talking about, diverse customer expectations. Most of the times, if you see that even phone manufacturers, a phone that probably I am using of a particular brand in India, when that being used in Europe of the same brand may differ in specifications because the requirement and the expectation of customers change from market to market. Next complexity that comes in is because of regulatory compliances. If you want to do business in any other country, you have to ensure that you are compliant with their rules and regulations. Every country will have their own set of regulatory compliances, which as an exporter or as an importer, one has to abide by. And this also is part of the supply chain management team's responsibility. Next complexity that has come with globalization is longer supply networks. So just imagine if the coffee has to come from Africa to India, it will go through a road transport, cross many countries in Africa, then to a port. From the port, it will come to a port in India. From India, again, it will be unloaded and given to another logistics company, and they by road will go to one particular city where the importer is sitting. So the network is huge. Next is technology and data dependency. While technology has been a boon, technology has made life easier, technology is responsible for this very fast response time that companies have, technology dependency also sometimes become very, very risky and problematic. Why? Because in case if there is any kind of a shutdown in the server, your entire supply chain comes to a standstill. That is one of the problems. Next problem is the political and economic uncertainty. We have seen this year has been, already there were globally there were 3 or 4 wars that were happening, which impacts crude oil prices, which impacts exporters, which impacts importers. And then there are economic policies. Some countries have been continuously imposing sanctions, and those sanctions were also being changed in every 15 to 20 days. So the supply chain management team, it becomes very, very challenging to continuously be posted and update their systems as to how the sanctions are changing their pricing, their import pricing, their export pricing. With political and economic uncertainty, there can be certain other uncertainties which are under no one's control, and that is the uncertainty that comes with act of God. See, there is a tremendous rainfall, there is a landslide, and all these things, these are beyond the capacity of supply chain management. The last problem that comes, that the challenge that supply chain management faces because of globalization is more number of players. More number of players, when I say, again, I'll just talk basically. When I was telling you about what is supply chain management, you could understand that there is an involvement. You can visualize that there is an involvement of so many number of people in this. There is an involvement of so many number of companies. There will be logistic company, there will be your vendor companies, there will be your channel partners who are also independent companies. When you talk about globalization, this even becomes at a higher level, because now you have those number of people, number of companies, number of stakeholders added on in some other continents, in some other countries, and that makes it more and more complex. So these are the challenges that supply chain management faces because of globalization. With that, we come to the end of module 1. I hope this was basic, this was simple to understand how supply chain management looks like. I also incorporated real life examples, like the example of phone, the example of a coffee exporter, so that can help you trigger your brain to visualize as to how things happen. I would also request learners that once you are done with the course, try to see, can you correlate what I was talking about in this course in your real life once you are done going through this module. Thank you so much, and I will see you for module 2.